The bizarre story of Carry On Wallace and Gromit was brought to my attention by a subscriber. Upon tracking the film down and uncovering its turbulent history, it quickly became clear that this was no normal Wallace and Gromit film. In September of 2014, a guy named Blake Neal uploaded a fan film titled Carry On Wallace and Gromit to YouTube, which was simultaneously entered into a competition organised by Aardman themselves. In just a few days, the video gained over 10,000 views and even made the front page of Metro News. You may be asking, why? And you'll probably wish you hadn't when you see this. Aardman were understandably horrified that this film would be mistaken for their own work, blocking the film for copyright infringement outright. This resulted in a bit of a legal squabble between Blake and Aardman that lasted for several months. I know all of this because Blake wrote an extensively detailed article on the matter, how he consulted lawyers trying to find any small legal loopholes regarding parody and using other films of a similar nature as ammunition against Aardman's claim. And being something of a filmmaker myself, I initially thought I'd probably react similarly. It sounds like the guy's poured his heart into this film, but then I actually watched it, and I mean, actually. The film begins with a camera pointed at Wallace's window, featuring highly suggestive sounds and sexual metaphors from an off-brand Wallace and unnamed lady.
Looks like some kind of landing area.
Pop one of me cupcakes in your mouth.
That's good.
Oh, you like that, don't you?
This still shot painfully lasts for 75% of the film's duration, before the camera is finally moved to reveal the source of the sounds, being Wallace jumping on a trampoline. That's it. That is literally all that happens. So my first thought was, is this the same film I've just been reading about? Blake's quoted as saying he'd spent 18 months building the film from scratch, which was lovingly crafted over a long period of time. Firstly, this isn't from scratch. Heck, it's not even real claymation, it's just pre-existing images of Wallace and Gromit, which have been composited and manipulated in some kind of software. And that's for the few seconds we actually see them on screen. Secondly, 18 months? Maybe if you procrastinated for 17 of those months, that'd be a semi-believable time frame. I swear more actual time was spent arguing with Aardman and writing this enormous article than what was put into the actual film in question. Throughout said article, Blake consistently denies any breach of copyright, pointing Aardman in the direction of any other videos he could find that used their material in a parodic manner. But that's like being caught burgling a place and pointing the police in the direction of another criminal, as if that makes what you're doing any better. Besides, Aardman specified that the material was, quote, potentially prejudicial to our brand, blatantly referring to the fact that audiences interpreted this as a genuine Wallace and Gromit sex tape, hence its removal, which has less to do with the intricacies of copyright that Blake focuses on throughout this article. When he does reference the obvious sexual nature of the video, Blake spends another article picking out subtle innuendos in A Matter of Loaf and Death, as if that's even comparable. Ironically, this serves only to demonstrate the conversely clever insertion of such themes that is not noticeable by children and likely even the majority of adults. Speaking of which, Blake is adamant that, quote, no child would ever pick up on this subtext in the slightest.
I think Gromit's left his camera on.
Right, so let me get this straight. So you're telling me that this could have been broadcast on CBeebies or something, and you genuinely couldn't see an issue there? That's like saying a child wouldn't know what's going on in an actual sex tape, so shove it on Disney Channel. No, that's not how these things work. Equally as bizarre as the whole situation is that Blake wrote this article. It's the only article concerning the topic and is titled Silenced Filmmaker Hits Back at Plasticine Giants. The whole thing just comes across as self-absorbed and greatly exaggerates what ultimately amounts to a poor quality parody being deleted from YouTube. After all of this palaver, Blake reworked his entire film in the space of a week to include his, quote, original characters, which only reinforces that the original does not represent 18 months of work. Carry On, Horace and Vomit is online to this day, with around 40,000 views and mysteriously no comments. This replaces Wallace with a guy wearing a shirt reading F. Aardman. That's mature. Whilst Gromit is literally the same PNG image, but recoloured and edited into a pig. So he's still using Aardman's assets, and they could probably take down the video again. I honestly just think they're fed up with the guy, and clearly nobody cares enough about this new video for it to affect the company. That's all this was about after all. You know, I hate copyright as much as the next guy, but when you're blatantly exploiting properties in objectively inappropriate ways that could legitimately damage the reputation of said property, I use Super Cereal, you kind of leave the owners of that property with no choice but to take action, and that's the position Aardman was in here. But what sticks with me most is that the whole thing is written in third person, despite it being written by the guy himself. Quote, Blake's a reasonable chap. Had they shown an ounce of decency and messaged him with anything in way of feedback regarding his animation, then politely ask him to take it down for whatever reason, he would have obliged. But that's him saying that. It's like if he strolled up to a McDonald's and said, Blake would like a Happy Meal please. Utterly bizarre. Can we just acknowledge that this guy sent what appears at face value to be a Wallace and Gromit sex tape to the creators of Wallace and Gromit, and genuinely expected praise in response? I can't wrap my head around it. It's just perplexing. I'm running out of adjectives here. I do want to mention that this isn't Wallace's first rodeo, so to speak, as Lenny Henry's live-action Wallace and Gromit parody, which was broadcast on TV, so was permitted by Aardman, also featured Wallace dancing with a mysterious lady.
Come in.
Sir,
Would you care to see my train set?
give us a kiss, Twinkle Toes.
Hey, steady.
Come on, up them stairs.
Thankfully, that's as far as it goes, but that's exactly the point. There's no actual intimacy beyond the forceful removal of Wallace's trousers, which I'll never unsee.
Stop jigging. Can't get them off.
I can't stop jigging my trousers a programme.
Daft you are. I'm off.
Why Wallace of all characters is consistently sexualized is beyond me. Yet here we are. So yeah, if this parody was exceptionally well crafted and contained a bit of suggestive humour, I'd probably have backed it up all the way, and I'm pretty certain Aardman would have too. But this film is neither of those things. The production quality is as crude as the attempted humour, which loses its effect after about 10 seconds. On top of this, the creator comes across as borderline narcissistic in his denial of any wrongdoing, whilst branding Aardman as, quote, arseholes that spend so much time pissing around with plasticine characters that they no longer know how to interact with real people. And that quote right there is probably more entertaining than his entire film, despite being incredibly petty. This video may have come across as harsh to some degree, which I didn't intend for it to be, but after researching more and more into the film and its creator, I was just fuming. The guy tries to use the ill health of Wallace's original voice actor Peter Sallis, who died not long after, to somehow justify the existence of his film, because, quote, there will likely be no further Wallace and Gromit films anyway. Whew. Some people, man. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this whole fiasco in the comments section down below, along with any further suggestions of topics to cover on the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, leave a like, and maybe even a super thanks. See you next time.